Baseball presented by Taco Bell is ready to present the Cubs and the Cardinals in this series finale from Busch. Let's get you right to the Cubs starting lineup, brought to you by Taco Bell.
And featuring Javier Baez, the human highlight film. He's been outstanding as of late, hitting in 8 of his last 10, homering the last 2 nights, Friday and last night here at the stadium.
On the mound for the Cardinals in this series finale, 25-year-old right-hander John Gant, who will make just his 8th start of the year. Take a look at the numbers there as a starter. 1-3, a 3.76 ERA, opposing batting average of under 200 overall, 3 wins and 3 losses on the year. Gant worked an inning in relief last week. His last start, however, came back on Saturday, July 21st against the same uniform at Wrigley Field. Faced the Cubs that night, went 5 shutout innings and scattered 4 hits, part of a 6-3 Cardinal win for which Gant did not get a decision. So after the rain and after some of the hand-wringing involved in waiting it out, we are ready for baseball. Field looks to be in really good shape when you consider the tarp was on the field for much of the afternoon. Neither team took batting practice, and finally we are underway in St. Louis. Anthony Rizzo, Ben Zobrist, and Jason Heyward lead things off for Chicago. To restate, the Cubs trying to avoid being swept by the Cardinals for the 2nd time this year. St. Louis taking each of the first 2 games of the series Friday and Saturday here at home, and a strike to Rizzo to make it 1-1. Alex, you made the point earlier before the rain delay that the home team has had a decided advantage in this season series. Cardinals have taken 6 out of 8 against the Cubs here on their turf.
It's been home cooking for both teams, and the Cardinals continue that this weekend with playing much better baseball, not only at home, but under the leadership of new manager Mike Shildt.
2 balls and a strike to count to Chicago leadoff hitter Anthony Rizzo. To 2-2 now.
John Gant pitched against these Cubs just last week, and something I noticed against this Cubs team is John Gant is primarily a fastball changeup pitcher. That's his go-to pitch, especially secondary pitch, is a changeup. Against the Cubs last week, he went with his curveball a lot more than that changeup.
Rizzo with a drive out to right field for Dexter Fowler. Well, about the Chicago Cubs, they have dropped 4 of their last 6, 5 and 6 since the All-Star break, and a team that's been baseball's best in the second half under Joe Madden has gotten this particular post-All-Star break off to a rockier start. They were active on the trade wire, acquiring former World Series MVP Cole Hamels in a deal with the Rangers on Friday. Chris Bryant remains on the DL with a shoulder injury. And Javi Baez, who we will see perhaps in the first inning, scheduled to bat 4th, has been a terrific run producer for the Chicago Cubs all year long. There's Chris on the mend. And as you heard Buster only report and speculate earlier, when he returns to full health, it will require some managing in terms of his contributions. As Ben Zobrist takes a big swing and gets the Cubs on the board first in St. Louis tonight.
Ben Zobrist, such a contact approach, but when he gets the right pitch, especially in the right count, he's got the pop. And from John Gant, this is 93 miles an hour right down the pipe. Zobrist, known for getting himself into the counts that he can drive the ball. Big leg kick, able to lay on 93 right down the middle.
Number 7 on the year for Ben Zobrist starts the scoring for the visitors tonight. A run in with 1 away, and now Jason Heyward.
Ben Zobrist, a winning player, an underrated player, and of course with the big hit, his signature moment of his career in the 2016 World Series, the double down the left field line.
Jason Hayward rolls over a ground ball to first. Matt Carpenter is there tonight, gets it to Gant, covering for out number 2. Well, Alex, you mentioned interim manager Mike Shildt, who is in the midst of his first full homestand as Cardinal manager. 6-5 since he took over just before the All-Star break. He has overseen a real bullpen overhaul. Greg Holland and Tyler Lyons DFA'd during the week. Sam Tuivailala sent to Seattle. Matt Carpenter has been a one-man band as far as the offense is concerned, and this part of it hasn't changed. 84 errors is, unfortunately for the Cardinals, the high total in baseball. Javi Baez will be a one-pitch casualty, not before little damage is done. Ben Zobrist's home run starts the scoring after the rain in St. Louis tonight, early, and it's 1-0 Cubs. For the visitors, 1-0 Chicago as we get you to St. Louis and their starting lineup tonight presented by Taco Bell.
Well, Matt, one of the moves that Mike Shildt made after the All-Star break was to consistently put Yadi Molina in that 2-hole. Since the All-Star break, he's been on fire. He likes that spot. .417 batting average, 5 extra base hits in 10 games.
It's Kyle Hendricks on the mound for the Chicago Cubs tonight, 28-year-old right-hander and the lone right-hander in the Cubs rotation. More on that factoid as we continue. 6-9, an ERA that's crept over 4. That in part as a result of his last start, allowed 3 earned runs in 5 innings Tuesday against the Arizona Diamondbacks. He did strike out a season-high 8 in a 5-1 loss. Carpenter, Molina, and DeYoung for St. Louis. And the first pitch of the game from Kyle Hendricks misses wide. Well, if you caught Alex's conversation with Matt Carpenter earlier, and we showed it to you during the rain delay, some of the secrets of Matt's success were revealed. Not all of them have to do with the batting cage and putting on a pair of cleats as he pops out to start the first. Been a lot of talk around here, Alex, about the secret salsa. I don't think that particular menu item has had as much momentum here in St. Louis ever. I think it's surpassed the toasted ravioli as the menu item du jour.
Well, man, for good reason. Not only does it smell good, but it tastes good. And one recommendation that I had, one request was, hey, can I take some home with me after the game?
What did he say?
I hope it's coming up here.
Okay. There's Yadi Molina now after the first out.
And while we're asking, I'll ask for a T-shirt as well. The T-shirt was pretty cool. Yeah.
For those that might have missed it, we'll bring back part of that interview later on tonight. Alex visiting with Matt Carpenter earlier today. Yadi Molina with a 1-1 count, batting with 1 out and the base is empty.
You will not believe what he told me this afternoon.
2 balls and a strike. Don't leave us hanging. You got to give us a little taste here.
Well, the taste is coming when the interview comes somewhere in the 3rd or 4th inning. But I was very surprised how humble, how smart, how organized he was. And this guy is the true, I mean, really a...
Molina into left center. Hold that thought as Yadi Molina has an extra base hit here in the bottom of the 1st.
We talked about it off the top, just how on fire he's been since the All-Star break, and honestly moving up in the order into that 2 spot. But the thing with him that I've seen that stands out is how he's hitting everything. We got 87 almost at the ankles. You see even that depth that Hendricks wants. Maybe he wants it a little bit more on the hands, a little middle of the plate, but it still has that sink to the pitch. Molina goes down and gets it. We had this team last week against the Cubs. He was 4 for 4, and he hit everything from the letters to the ankles, and he's still continuing that. The secret salsa move.
Yeah, there it is.
Keep the salsa coming.
Here's Paul DeJong now with an RBI opportunity in front of him. DeJong also faced Hendricks last Thursday at Wrigley Field. Didn't have the kind of success that Yadi Molina did. Molina had 3 of those 4 hits Jess mentioned against Hendricks. DeJong was 0 for that night. As far as that line for Kyle, he was unable to finish the 5th that night. First game back after the break. Had a lot of offensive support. Cubs won at 9-6. Hendricks was out of jams more often than not, but he did give up 9 hits in the 4 2/3. We talked with Joe Maddon about his season so far that night. We did it again tonight. Part of the problem, according to Joe, is that Greg Maddux little move on the end of his fastball, that little tail, isn't as sharp as they'd like it. Joe would like to see him incorporate more curveballs early in counts. And too many pitches per plate appearance for Maddon's taste. In other words, the less you see of Kyle Hendricks, the worse off you are as an opponent.
Well, and you see, because he's got the 2nd lowest fastball velocity, he relies a lot on that sink, on that movement. If he doesn't command his fastball and get the run and sink on his 2-seamer, it's going to get hit.
DeJong into the left field corner and just foul.
There's several things when you think about Kyle Hendricks and why he struggled some this year. Number one, he's been battling his mechanics all year. But the other one is simple fact of repetition. Hitters are beginning to see him. He's in his 4th season now. And as a hitter, whether you're righty or lefty, you go up there with a game plan. And that game plan is simple. Look for the ball up, and anything down, you're going to leave it alone. And that's what you've seen so far in this first half of the season.
1-2 to DeJong is sent into left field, hit hard, but right at Kyle Schwarber for a loud out number 2.
And Kyle Hendricks, the Dartmouth graduate, he is your traditional 3-pitch pitcher. He has a fastball, he has a curveball, get me over curveball, and a plus changeup. He has 2 types of fastballs. One's a sinker, one's a straight fastball, and then the changeup. One cuts and one sinks. And his goal should be very simple: induce contact, weak contact, early in the count.
A 2-out runner at second now for Marcel Ozuna, the 2-time All-Star who hit a first-inning grand slam yesterday against Jose Quintana and effectively ended the day early. Ozuna swinging early here with a high drive to left, and Marcel Ozuna has done it again.
And Ozuna, almost a carbon copy of yesterday. A breaking ball again today. And a floater. That's the one he wants to get over for strike 1. Right down the middle. Same pitch, same result. Home run, Marcel Ozuna. And when they signed him here with the Cardinals, that's the type of production and damage they were expecting. Well, as of late, they've been getting that Ozuna.
His 12th of the year gives the Cardinals a 1-run advantage here early, and a strike to Jedd Gyorko. Perhaps the start of something a lot more positive for Marcel Ozuna, and his what was thought to be lost power stroke. This, after all, is an all-star player from a year ago who hit a career best 37 home runs in a ballpark in South Florida, not really conducive to the long ball. On a pace this year for fewer than 20. But certainly a positive sign here this weekend. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Jedd Gyorko.
And one of the biggest things you saw with him earlier in the season was his right shoulder's not allowing him to get that extension. You see his right shoulder here, just beautiful job of getting into a pitch that's off speed, so having to even provide more backside, more power. And he does, going through the Congo line in the dugout.
And at the end, a little salsa.
So, as you mentioned, Alex, curveball at the shins for a grand slam yesterday by Quintana. Breaking ball a little under the belt for a home run today against Kyle Hendricks. I guess that we should just cross that one off if we're the Cubs staff. No more breaking balls down in the zone to Marcel Ozuna.
The Cubs have as finest scouting report department as any in baseball. They call it the Ivy. This comes from Theo Epstein. And if you just follow Marcel Ozuna, one of the things you can't do is throw soft breaking balls or change-ups early in the count for strikes, because they go a long way. What's surprising for a guy like Kyle Hendricks, who's such a great student of the game, with a base open, with the grand slam yesterday, you would think he would not get any strikes.
Well, and to the Cubs' credit, before this weekend, I mean, Marcel Ozuna struggled against non-fastballs. In fact, he's one of the lowest in the bigs against anything that is not a fastball. So the scouting report on him was definitely throw him breaking balls, give him changeups, because that's a pitch that he has not hit up until this weekend, but obviously it's changed.
And Jedd Gyorko continues here in the first with a base hit the other way. And a lot of room to hit with a wide open hole on the right side of the infield, and credit Jedd Gyorko for shortening up and punching a 2-out base hit into right.
I love saying that, Alex. I know you do too. Just we talk about so much the shift and how it's people want to change it because it's hurting the game, hurting the offense. And I get for the big dog hitters like an Anthony Rizzo, you stay with what you know, you pull the ball. But for a Jedd Gyorko, someone that's not always in the lineup, and when you have everybody on the left side to recognize to poke the ball through the right side of the infield, such a big way to be able to get on base and honestly get himself an extra hit.
There's Tommy Pham now with the 2 runs in and a runner aboard with 2 gone. Pham enjoyed the Thursday a couple of weeks ago against Hendricks with a 2-for-2 home run, a 2-for-2 line rather, that included a home run. And meanwhile, you saw that number a moment ago on Kyle Hendricks. A bit of an alarming trend if you're the Cubs. Not only the first inning home runs against Hendricks, but the first inning damage. He's now allowed 21 runs in 21 2/3 in first innings this year.
And he talked about after his last start, Matt, was the 1-1 count is huge for him. So that last strike he just threw, 1-1, is something he has not been able to do. And that's always been his count. I mean, Kyle Hendricks is minimal pitches, soft contact.
And a called strike 3 as he straightens up Tommy Pham to end the inning. Not before a little damage. The 2-run shot by Marcel Ozuna gives the Cardinals an early 2-1 lead. Zobrist, a solo shot for the Cubs, and that man Marcel Ozuna with a 2-run blast for St. Louis. Back for the top of the second, and Wilson Contreras leading things off for Chicago. Contreras, Schwarber, and Russell for the Cubs. Wilson has hit safely in 7 of his last 9. An all-star for the first time in his career a couple of weeks ago. Behind here 0-2. Going to see plenty of off-speed stuff tonight on both sides of the scorecard.
That last changeup was dirty. There was a Vulcan change. And he's comfortable throwing it to righties as much as he is lefties. But you're going to see it on that right side of the plate.
Ball and 2 strikes to count to Wilson Contreras. Yeah, let's take a further look at that really good pitch, that changeup, and it's a little different. StatCast powered by AWS. StatCast AI inside the Vulcan grip and the unusual changeup of John Gant.
See just the dominance that he has on that pitch. Opposing batting average of righties .043, which is huge because a lot of times the changeup, and Alex, you know this, is so much more devastating to left-handed batters. But as you saw in that last at bat to Contreras, it's just as dirty, if not more dirty, to right-hand batters.
It sure is, and when you throw a fastball that's 94 that rides on you, it really makes that changeup exceptional. And then you mix in the curveball and the slider like you saw there.
Kyle Schwarber now, and he's behind 0-2.
I think one of the biggest things too, and a difference you will see with Kyle Hendricks and his fastball changeup usage, is it's probably at like maybe 5 to 6 mile an hour difference between his fastball and change. For John Gant, it's 13 to 14 miles an hour difference. That's when he gets the big swing and misses.
Good point, Jessica.
Because you think about it, 95 on his fastball, and he'll get his changeup down to 79, 80 miles an hour. And if he can truly tunnel that pitch, meaning make that changeup look like his fastball, and have a 15 to 16 mile an hour difference.
You might have noticed already that the slight hitch in Gant's delivery, not nearly as exaggerated as it was when he was drafted by the Mets out of high school in 2011, or when he made his major league debut a few years later as an Atlanta Brave.
And this is something that had evolved for John Gant. I mean, look at this. Talk about as a hitter, and Alex, you can attest to this. I mean, it's definitely something that you would think would have been illegal, just because it's the sense for a batter. Is he going to throw? Is he not? Well, it turned out, because of what he was doing with that front foot, that with a rule change that happened a year ago, basically stipulating that a pitcher may not take a second step toward home plate with either foot or otherwise reset that pivot foot. So he had to change. And you see he still kind of has that hitch. Like, he wants that front foot to move. But he said it's helped him. It's helped him stay more back on his backside. It's almost like a leg kick with a hitter. For him as a pitcher to start, restart, he said it would get him out of rhythm. And now he's able to be obviously more just regular with it, but stay back in that back leg to provide the power that really was inconsistent before.
Payoff pitch on its way to Kyle Schwarber. And Schwarber is able to lay off after being behind 0-2 in the count to draw his team-leading 59th walk of the year. And a tough one to lay off at that, as we can see on K-Zone 3D. So it gives the Cubs a base runner here with 1 gone. Part of the evolution of Kyle Schwarber. He's on pace for another 30 home run year. Punch outs are down, walks are up. And here's Addison Russell now with 1 out and 1 on.
For John Gant, the most important pitch of any sequence is the first pitch for him. The reason why is you want him to throw strike 1, and then his stuff moves so much that will induce hitters to chase off the plate. The other side of that coin is if he falls behind, his stuff is not good enough to play in 2-0 and 3-1 counts.
Ball and no strikes to Addison Russell, who's got just one extra base hit in his last 12 games. Addison's fallen on harder times offensively. 2-0 to him now. Yadi Molina comes to assert himself and call for an infield discussion. Gives us a chance to remind you great Major League Baseball action coming up on ESPN. Tomorrow night a doubleheader. Phillies and Red Sox at 7 Eastern. Aaron Nova and David Price on the mound. That'll be followed by the Brewers and Dodgers out in Los Angeles. Tuesday, Major League Baseball, the Phillies and Red Sox once again. Jake Arrieta and Drew Pomerantz, and then Jessica, Buster, Alex, and I will be.
Trying to combine all our names
I called
into
you
one.
Jester, or maybe I called Buster Jester. I did.
Come on.
It's going to become a meme before long. Next Sunday, we're in Boston for the Yankees and Red Sox. 2-0 to Russell, misses outside, and suddenly Gant is having a hard time commanding the strike zone. That's 6 straight balls.
Well, that's tough too, because the miss, as we showed 3 DKs on a Schwarber, was actually close to being a strike, and you could see he was frustrated and not able to kind of regroup and get a strike here.
3-0 to Russell. He's taking all the way.
If you're Joe Madden, I really like Schwarber running here on this 3-1 count. You want to stay away from the double play. Gant is a ground ball pitcher, so 3-1, get Schwarber moving a little bit.
3 balls and a strike to Addison Russell. Schwarber stays put, and Russell takes ball 4. So back-to-back walks after the strikeout. And here might be an occasion when a manager decides to bat his pitcher 8th that he might want a do-over. No such do-over afforded. It is Kyle Hendricks batting now, and the number 9 hitter David Bodie waits on deck. Hendricks in a bunt position here with runners aboard and 1 gone. A ball and no strikes.
Although I would argue having him in the 8-hole to be able to lay down a bunt with 1 out versus if Bodie was up 8th, even though it's a scoring opportunity, Hendricks gets up with 2 outs, then you're done for the inning.
You could certainly make that case. Pending Hendricks' ability to get down the sacrifice.
If you're Joe Madden, why not let Hendricks force Gant to throw a strike or 2? If you gift an out, there's already 1 out. You give Gant an opportunity to build momentum and build some rhythm.
Watch how hard you're going to see Carpenter and Gyorko charge on this, and this is where even the bunt, exactly, you want to, and I like that move there, and I know it's not execution, but just to put in their heads, look, but guys, I know this is an obvious to everyone bunt opportunity, but you saw Carpenter sprinting in, Gyorko right in his grill. Even he gets the bunt down, they're going 3, they're going 2, they're getting an out, if not 2. So at least they're pulling it back and saying, guys, get on your heels a little bit.
See if they put the bunt play back on. The Cubs have the 3rd most sacked bunts in the National League this year. Here come the corners again. And again, Hendricks swinging away, swings through at that time. Now he's down 1-2.
Alex, when you played third base, would you try to get in ahead of the hitters in situations like this sometimes with your movement at third base coming in?
100%, and especially if a guy did not handle the bat very well. I think what you see here is more of an intimidation. And as a hitter, you have to dent the ball so much that you get exactly what happens. You take Kyle Hendricks out of his comfort zone, and he's swinging and not looking good doing it.
They keep the bunt on with 2 strikes, and Hendricks strikes out. Boy, that thing just kind of got blown up right from the very start. ESPN Technologies built for baseball, brought to you by T-Mobile, using our front row camera. The foul bunt with 2 strikes. And the strikeout recorded for Gant. So 2 gone now for David Bote, the third baseman, who is filling time, if you will, for the injured Kris Bryant on the DL with a shoulder injury, the extent of which I think is still unclear as Bote takes a pitch inside. Buster, you spent some time talking about this earlier today on Baseball Tonight, the fact that when Kris Bryant returns, nobody's really clear which version of the former MVP will be on the field.
Right. He's been on the disabled list twice. He's had 2 cortisone shots. And in our conversation with Joe Matt, it's clear this is a situation that needs to be managed going forward. He's going to have some time off, and we'll see if he gets all the power back or some of the power back. It's unclear, as you said.
Well, we do know this for Kris Bryant as Bote swings and misses. He is missing his 29th game of the season tonight, and that equals the combined number of games that he missed over his first 3 major league seasons. He's been a really reliable player for Joe Maddon. Outfield, third base, middle of the lineup, and is a big absence currently.
Well, and I think, Matt, even when they do get him back, you know, it's not going to be an everyday type situation. I felt like Joe Maddon alluded to the fact that, I mean, because he's such a big bat and a big need for this team, and they have so much depth, and you know that they need him more importantly in the postseason headed down the back stretch, that I wouldn't be surprised that when he does return, that if he's not in the lineup every day.
2 balls and a strike to count to David Bote. Schwarber and Russell aboard with 2 gone in a 2-1 St. Louis lead early tonight. Well, I think a lot of people have attributed the Cubs' recent woes, and they've lost 4 of 6, strictly to the absence of Kris Bryant. That is not really a fair assessment because their lineup has been in pretty good shape even without him. It's the starting pitching staff that has given the Cubs the most concern at this point in the season. Three balls and a strike to count to David Bote. And a called strike to make it 3-2.
This is a nice pitch because of the location of where it starts and then comes back over the plate. And you'll see Molina had even set up a way, that 2-seamer off the plate. And as you see there, runs right back over for a strike.
Chance for Gant to strand the 2 walks here with 2 gone. On the ground to the left side. Gyorko's up with it to retire the side. Couple of walks, but no damage. After an inning and a half, still 2-1 Cardinals.
home runs.
JD Martinez of the Red Sox is the answer that Siri produces with 32, and he and the Red Sox opening up a big series with the Phillies starting tomorrow night on ESPN. Chris Davis of the Oakland A's hit his 28th in Denver this afternoon in a loss. Boy, the A's had so much momentum prior to being swept over the weekend by the red-hot Colorado Rockies. Very much a part of the intriguing National League wildcard picture.
In the West. I mean, the A's and the run that they've been on competing with the Mariners for that wild card. The Rockies coming back into the picture. The Diamondbacks and the Dodgers. I'm telling you, AL NL West is going to be fun coming down the stretch.
Dexter Fowler leads things off in the St. Louis half of the second. Bottom third of the order for the Cardinals. Fowler, Munoz, and John Gant. Well, Dexter Fowler with better results of late as he lifts a little fly ball out to shallow right center for Hayward, who's patrolling center field tonight. Of course, Dexter Fowler was in the news a lot around here before and after the dismissal of Mike Matheny. And there was a thought that perhaps a veteran player like Fowler, who was not off to a good start this season, might take off given a different clubhouse environment. John Mozeliak making the difficult choice, letting go a tenured manager in Mike Matheny, who had a lot of skin in the game here in these parts and who still cultivates a lot of respect. Here's Munoz now with one away.
For the Cubs, with the acquisition of Cole Hamels this week by Theo Epstein, this guy on the mound, Kyle Hendricks, becomes the most valuable member of this 25-man roster. The reason why, if the postseason started today, he would be pitching game 2, sandwiched between the two left-handers, John Lester and Cole Hamels. It is imperative, if the Cubs want to get back to the World Series like in 2016, this guy, this Dartmouth graduate, has to come up and pitch in a big way.
2 balls and a strike to Jairo Munoz. Well, the fact remains, Alex, and you bring up an interesting point, that the Cubs are so left-handed in their rotation now with the acquisition of Hamels. The Cubs have never had a rotation with 4 left-handed starters making as many as 7 starts in a year, as Munoz rings an extra base hit into the left field corner. Hey, Jairo Munoz has been really good at the bottom of this Cardinals lineup of late.
You'll see another flat changeup right down the middle on a 2-1 count. And Munoz is all over it. All over it. And Hendricks is not fooling anyone with his secondary pitches.
But that changeup has been his swing and miss pitch. I mean, he doesn't get a ton of swing and misses, but when he's going right, that pitch does not only not get hit, but it gets missed because that's the pitch he'll throw off of his fastball. And the difference that Joe Maddon has said, where he can tell Hendricks is struggling, not only the amount of pitches he's throwing, more pitches, but his best pitch, what he's known for, is his changeup is getting hit.
Munoz at second with 1 gone for the pitcher John Gant, who lays off to make it a 1-1 count. And Alex, I just want to button up your point on the rotation of the Cubs and the left-handed heaviness of it. We talked to Joe Maddon about that before the game, and Joe, as you might guess, kind of downplayed how left-handed heavy they were and said, well, look at the left-handers we're talking about here. And he makes a great point. If you had been told a few years ago that Cole Hamels and John Lester would at one point soon occupy the same rotation, you'd be polishing off the Commissioner's Trophy. It's a pretty good left-handed rotation, in other words.
Yes. Well, and it's interesting because it's just more unique, and that's why more people are making the point.
On the ground for Russell, and there's 2 away with Munoz getting to third on that ground ball to the left side. Here are the names. Mike Montgomery is the guy with the least amount of service time, but he's been very good in spot start capacity. Quintana got knocked around yesterday. Lester, Hamels, and Hendricks, and it kind of brings you back to the absence of the one big right-hander that they spent big money on to kind of solidify the whole animal, and that's Yu Darvish, who is still unable to contribute.
Yu Darvish has been an enormous disappointment for the Chicago Cubs. And when you expect a guy to go out and throw 200 innings and lead the way and help John Lester, it's disappointing. But going back to that 4-man left-handed, if I'm facing them and you have a right-handed, you're going to get lineups that are going to be stacked right-handed. Well, if you play the counter of that, and you're Theo Epstein and Jed Hoyer, the general manager of the Cubs, you have to think you already have Steve Cishek in the bullpen. You may think about going out and getting a guy like Darren O'Day, because at some point, those left-handers are coming off the game, and boy, it would be a nice luxury to have very tough sidewinders coming from the right side.
Cubs bullpen has been a real strength this year. In fact, you take a look at the pitching strengths and weaknesses of the Cubs and Cardinals, and they're a mirror image of one another. Cardinals rotation's been great. Bullpen has been troubled. The opposite true in Chicago. 0-2 the count to Matt Carpenter, and Hendricks gets him on 3 pitches. A runner left stranded in the second. Still 2-1 St. Louis. About an hour and a half prevented this one from starting in a timely manner. It's a 2-1 Cardinals lead through 2. Back with Alex Rodriguez, Jessica Mendoza, and Buster Olney. Matt Vasgersian, top of the order for Chicago. It'll be Anthony Rizzo, Ben Zobrist, and Jason Hayward against the right-hander John Gant. Rizzo lined hard to right in his first try tonight, coming off a pretty noteworthy week. And for Anthony Rizzo, who is the last remaining player in Chicago who can remember the back-to-back 100 loss seasons, that was the last of the rough waters before the World Series glory of 2016. Over 1,000 games on his big league baseball card. Shot out to center field, chasing Pham, running out of room quickly, and it's gone. Number 15 for Anthony Rizzo. Number 180 in his Cubs career.
Rizzo coming out swinging on this breaking ball right here. You see it hang. Beautiful pitch to hit. You see it the whole way. Rizzo gets down through it. Great leverage. Look at the back knee go down to the ground, and the ball explodes up. That ball had tremendous carry. And Gant.
Oh, barely.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought Pham had a chance too when he was going back. I think he did as well. And you're right, Alex. It just kind of kept carrying. As Pham going back, he reaches. Oh.
Hey, fence scrapers count.
Indeed.
0-1 the count to Ben Zobrist. A shot back up the box and a base hit. Couple of hard hit balls against Gant start the third. We mentioned Anthony Rizzo having a big week. Let's take a look at who's flipping the switch. Brought to you by Boost Mobile. It is Anthony Rizzo. Got a little work in on the mound on Monday against the Diamondbacks. Ninth inning, 2 gone, and he flied out A.J. Pollock for the final out of the inning. And then what he's paid to do Thursday against the Diamondbacks, a walk-off home run, the longest home run hit by a Cub this year, out to Sheffield Ave. Saw him hit that one a long way, and then one just long enough.
How about that
a moment ago.
pitch? I mean, that was like 70% speed. Just here's a cookie. What do you got, A.J. Pollock? Maybe 75 miles an hour. I mean, that was hilarious.
And I hate to be the wet blanket here, but if you're a Chicago Cubs fan and you have Anthony Rizzo, you already have your big horse, Chris Bryant, hurt. It just is a cringing moment to see your best player, one of your best players, going out there and pitching.
Which is probably why he went 70%. I think he promised Joe Madden that if you give me a chance to pitch, I'm not even gonna.
It's not going to blow out.
No.
It almost looked like, was it Steve Hamilton, Buster, that used to throw the folly floater?
I know. Jess was saying 75 was like that fast. It looked like it was like 60. I've seen him throw harder practicing pitching with teammates joking around before games.
Jason Hayward with a shot out to center that almost carried over Pham. Tommy's got it for the first out of the inning. Already 3 home runs tonight on Sunday Night Baseball, presented by Taco Bell. Brought to you by USAA, insurance, banking, and investments tailored for the military community.
Yeah, and if you're a young high school player out there, there is no, or Little League, there is no better player in baseball to watch than Anthony Rizzo. I mean, this guy is the total package. He plays defense, he hits for power, he wants to be in the lineup every day. He posts every day. He's a big player in October. And double play ball.
Hold that thought. Taylor made. Boy, Javi Baez has swung at 2 pitches and recorded 3 outs tonight. We'll talk a little bit more about Anthony Rizzo as we continue, but after a quick timeout, Alex's conversation with Matt Carpenter as Sunday Night Baseball continues from St. Louis next.
The sauce, come back.
Alex had a chance to visit with one of them, and he asked the Cardinals leadoff hitter about some of his secrets at this point in the season.
I understand you're a little bit of a gardener.
I brought some
I love
sauce
it.
too.
I can't wait to taste it. Tell us what's the magic behind the sauce.
So, funny story. My teammate Adam Wainwright is a huge gardener, and you know, I've constantly talked to him about the gardening process, and I've had interest in it. I wanted to get involved. Well, early on in May, when I went on the road, Adam came secretly to my house, planted a garden in the backyard.
Wow.
And I'm a big salsa guy. I've been making salsa fresh out of it, and it just so happened to coincide as I started to get hot, was right when I started making this salsa, and I actually took a jar of it on the road to Chicago for the first time. First time I'd taken it on the road, and it happened to be the series where I had you know, a lot of success, and I got to give a lot of credit to the salsa. We got the shirts here. It's all about the salsa.
Take me to when you were 23 years old, fifth-year senior at TCU, 13-round draft pick, $1,000 signing bonus. What were you thinking then, and did you think that you can be a big leaguer now?
Oh, man. I'll tell you what, and when I walked off the field, my last game at TCU, I'll never forget it. We were in the Super Regionals playing the University of Texas, and when that game ended, I thought I just played baseball for the last time. Honest to God, I really thought that was the last time I'd ever put a jersey on. And thankfully enough, the St. Louis Cardinals drafted me.
Show me in slow motion kind of your mechanics. You hit 6 home runs in 6 consecutive days. Show me the feeling in slow motion, what that looks like.
For me, you know, I'm a big rhythm guy. You know, as you guys have seen my swing, I mean, I'm kind of a guy who, you know, starts kind of with his, you know, chest out and back's kind of bent. And for me, all that is a part of the timing and rhythm process. And I want to feel myself as I load, my hands kind of get into this position. And from this position, I can do the thing that's always given me my best strength as a hitter, and that's being able to recognize balls and strikes. When I'm really going well, I can get in this position and I can recognize, you know, almost right out of the hand, whether this ball is going to be something I can swing at or whether it's going to be something I need to take. And then from that point, if I'm landing in this position and in a good spot to launch my swing, I don't have to think of anything else after that. I can just see where the pitch is and take my barrel right to it.
Boy, good stuff from Matt Carpenter today. I had the sense watching that you guys could have gone on and on and on down there in the cage today in the rain.
Just a terrific guy, you know, an old school guy that doesn't use batting gloves, playing a young man's game, and just a blue chip hallmark Cardinals player, and that's how they used to make him. And he's a guy he's an easy guy to cheer for. He's articulate, he understands the game, he respects the game. I could have sat there and talked to him all day.
By the way, the little nugget that was unearthed there of Adam Wainwright breaking into his yard
To build a garden.
and secretly planting a garden.
How do you secretly plant like an entire tomatoes? They got jalapenos.
I mean, we heard the story about the garden and the salsa, but we didn't know that Adam Wainwright was the guy that did
Broke
it, you know,
in.
clandestine style in the heart of the night.
A little Martha Stewart, for sure.
And a swing and a miss by Yadi Molina. It's the motivation behind our Sunday Night Baseball cartoon tonight. Every good
So
team,
good.
every
So
once in a
good.
while, has like the gardener story. Remember when John Franco planted the tomato plants at Shea Stadium?
Indeed.
And guys, the salsa's legit. Like, I'm a salsa snob. it's got spice. I mean, he makes a good salsa.
There's Paul
I was a
DeYoung now
critic.
with one away.
Like, you can't play baseball and make good salsa.
Now, let me tell you this, Matt, she says it's on fire. She's gone through this whole thing. She has not shared
I'm
one
Mexican.
bit with us.
They put salsa in front of me, and this has been my
means it.
dinner. This is literally.
Don't think that's for TV, folks. She's not lying.
Matt, well done.
0-2 the count to Paul DeYoung. DeYoung line to left in his first at-bat tonight.
If you can have a comeback player of the year in the same year, Matt Carpenter will win that award by a landslide.
What was he hitting? Like 143 heading into the middle of May? I mean,
Major league worst, 143.
like, it got to where you were wondering how he was consistently in the lineup, and honestly, not playing good defense just didn't look right. Since that May 15th, May 16th transition where he had a few games off, got to rest a little bit. I mean, that's drastic. You're talking about a 200-point difference in batting average, OPS just through the roof, and especially to this Cubs team. 8 home runs.
You know, I think some of the credit there needs to go to the former manager, Mike Matheny. And I think it's easy for a fan base or for a team to pile on a guy when he loses his job, but it was Mike Matheny who decided to get Carpenter off his feet for 3 days and get him right. And by the way, nobody has more respect for the former Cardinal skipper than the current guy, Mike Shildt, who was quick to point that out to us as soon as he took the job. And a swing and a miss by DeYoung for out number 2. 4 strikeouts for Kyle Hendricks early tonight. Hey, a quick reminder, tomorrow at 8:10 Eastern, you can catch this one on ESPN Plus. The Indians and Twins open their 3-game series at Target Field. It's also streaming live on the ESPN app, so start your free trial of ESPN Plus now.
The 2 Gardeners. But by the way, if you take the first 6 weeks away, and the Cardinals, I did predict that the Cardinals could sneak in to the postseason. You have to begin to put Matt Carpenter in the MVP conversation, and if he does get into that conversation, assist Adam Wainwright. He buried the lead.
Secret Gardner.
Secret Gardner.
He's one of about, it seems like 25 or 30 National League players, guys, who if they have a great finish, 2-month finish, you can win the MVP. I think Javi Baez on the Cubs side could be in that conversation.
Paul
Freddie Freeman of the Braves. It is totally wide open for somebody to grab it.
A 1-2 count to Marcel Ozuna.
It was such a pleasure to spend time with Matt Carpenter. I mean, here's a guy that absolutely is in love with the game of baseball. He can't stop talking. He loves it. And Carlos Beltran, who was his teammate and my teammate, said, hey, this guy loves baseball so much, we will go to dinner. He would stand up while our steak was being served, grab the fork, and pretend it was his bat. And he would just say, hey, guys, how do I look here? How do I look?
He's chatting his ear off right there in the dugout.
It's Marcel Ozuna doing the talking now after he was rung up. 3 straight strikeouts for Hendricks, 5 on the night, a 2-2 tie as we visit with Joe Maddon coming up next. ESPN presented by Taco Bell in the midst of a 2-2 tie in the 16th of the year between the Cardinals and the Cubs. Good representation in the stands on both sides, as always, in the I-55 series, regardless of venue. John Gant back to work on the mound for St. Louis. Pleasure, as always, to have Joe Maddon with us on the telecast. And, Joe, you had some comments earlier this week about Ricky Henderson Rizzo batting leadoff for you. that have rung true again tonight, as your leadoff hitter has made a mark again on this game with a home run. It seems like this is less a stunt and more a reality that Anthony Rizzo is the leadoff hitter of the Chicago Cubs.
Well, it got close there when they at bat with Bodie. That 3-1 pitch could have been ball 4, and he might have swung at ball 4 because of the 3-1. And here comes Anthony with the bases loaded. I just like the idea of taking advantage of him as much as we possibly can. He feels really good there. It's nothing that he stresses over. He embraces the idea of leading off. My only concern is he's going to try to steal too many bases. You got to rein him in a little bit.
Yeah, it's going to his head.
Rein him in.
He's the wheels now of the team.
Absolutely. Just ask him.
We were talking to you pregame about Kyle Hendricks. You know, he struggled the last couple starts, but even in the first inning, and then he strikes out the side in the third. What's been the difference?
You know, I'm watching the gun closely. That 80-mile-an-hour changeup, the second strike. I was at the Jean. I mean, I think that, you know, I was talking to Wilson. Wilson, he's like pulling his changeup a little bit, maybe aiming it as opposed to just throwing it and let it work. I think that was probably the best one he's thrown all night was the Jean. But the fastball's good. I'm looking at the numbers. The numbers are good. We're not seeing maybe more balls on the ground possibly because he's normally a heavier ground ball pitcher. The ball's in the air a little bit, so let's get earlier count outs and get the ball on the ground a little bit more, and then I think everything would get back to normal.
Joe, I mean, when you see Kyle Hendricks and how good he's looked here the last 2 or 3 innings, looks like he's got much better rhythm. But now you can't help but forecast that you could have a John Lester, a Kyle Hendricks for game 2 throwing ground balls, and now Cole Hamels.
Yeah.
When he walks into your clubhouse, tell me how that makes you feel as the leader of that clubhouse.
Oh, pretty good, obviously, to get a guy of his stature and his track record and just the way he is. I mean, I listened to him in interviews, a very bright young man. Then I get a chance to sit with him yesterday. We had a little bit of a chat just about what's going on here right now. And, you know, expresses himself so well. And so beyond just being a great pitcher, he's good. He's good for our clubhouse. And I know maybe this season hasn't gone how we'd like to this point. However, if you look at the periphery numbers there and like you look at his velocity and things like that, strikeouts, innings pitched, there's still a lot of good stuff going on. And plus, he's really eager to be here. So it absolutely looks great for us right now.
Hour-and-a-half rain delay, Joe. We know what the players do. Have a bite to eat, a Fortnite video games. What does manager Joe Madden do during a 90-minute rain delay?
Some meatballs with some pretty good spaghetti sauce. And then after that, well, I just listen to my music. I check out some things. I was texting with my son, Joey. It's my grandson Giuseppe's birthday, so I sent him some Legos. They sent me some pictures. So you're checking in. I mean, listen, I got my car done. This, like you said, the 16th time we've played him this year, so you have a pretty good idea what you'd like to do, what's going to go on. Just don't try not to get too wrapped up, think too hard. It's going to catch it. But anyway, it's just a different way, my method of wasting time.
Take us to break, Joe.
Joe, we appreciate the visit as always.
All right.
Thank you, Joe.
Bye-bye.
Legos for Giuseppe in a 2-2 tie in St. Louis. Turn back to Wrigley Field on Thursday for a 4-game series against the Padres. Baez, Schwarber, and Rizzo back home at the friendly confines. A 1984 NLCS redo, if you will. Get your tickets now at Cubs.com. Padres making a little bit of news as they are said to be perhaps among the leaders in the clubhouse for the services of a certain right-hander in Tampa St. Pete, as Jedd Gyorko leads things off for the Cardinals in their half of the inning. Bottom half of the fourth. Gyorko, Pham, and Fowler. Chris Archer said to be on the block. Still a couple of days left before the trading deadline of Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Archer's name has gotten a lot of heat, as it has the last couple of years. The Padres, one of the teams attached to that. Here's a former Padre in Jedd Gyorko leading things off, and behind 0-2. Gyorko singled in the first.
Talk about a different pitcher, third inning, and even at the back end of the second inning for Kyle Hendricks. Getting no swing and misses in that first inning, and even the outs were hard outs. Settling in since then. And the biggest thing is really the combination of his fastball and changeup and tunneling that pitch to make them look like the other. And when he's right, I don't think there's anyone better in tunneling those two pitches.
Full count, 3-2 to Jedd Gyorko.
The key for Kyle Hendricks is simple. You want contact in the first two pitches. And the shorter the at-bat, advantage Hendricks. The longer an at-bat like this one, advantage hitter.
And Gyorko tops it to the third baseman, Cody. It's a fine barehanded play for the out.
Outstanding play here with the bare hand. A do-or-die play. Great rhythm, great throw. Nice catch in the back end here by Anthony Rizzo. The tough part is the catch right here by Rizzo.
And you got a guy running right at you. I mean, not just the athletic move there, but you have someone that can blow you up if you stay even a quarter second longer. He knows that, makes the catch, and gets out.
And a ball that's tailing fast.
It was like a little two-seamer towards him.
Quick out off the bat of Tommy Pham, and there are 2 away here in the fourth.
When I talk about Kyle Hendricks and the numbers that he's had when he's going well, no one tunnels better when he is on. You see his fastball and his changeup. There they are, both on top of you. That's what the hitter sees. It's the same path. The two-seam fastball is going to stay, run, sink. Changeup's going to go down. And again, it's the difference in mile per hour and what those pitches do at the back end. They look the same when you decide to swing. And when he's right, you got no chance on the changeup because it looks so much like the two-seam fastball.
Well, nobody was more right than Kyle Hendricks in 2016 as he delivers a strike to Dexter Fowler. A Major League ERA title when he finished the regular season with a 2.13 earned run average, a big part of the Cubs' World Series push and eventual World Series title. He was great in the Fall Classic in 2 starts against the Indians, allowed only 1 run in 9 innings. Good last year. The numbers not where they were this season, but Hendricks hoping for a stronger finish in 2018. I'll tell you where he has been very good tonight is in first pitch strikes. He has issued strike 1 to 8 of the last 9 hitters he's faced, and that pitch makes a huge difference for him. After a first pitch strike, opponents hit .219 against him. After a 1-0 count, add 100 points. And he seems to have found something here mid-game tonight. Still a 2-2 tie. tie as we hit the top of the 5th. Moments ago, Buster Olney had a chance to visit with Cardinals manager Mike Shildt.
Like the last couple of days, we've seen more power from Marcel Ozuna. What's different for him, do you think?
I think he's just getting more consistent with his swing, feeling his mechanics a little bit, getting balls in the strike zone, just let his natural power play.
So since you've taken over as manager, you've encouraged the players to have more movement on the bases on defense. Why?
Well, just trying to get things started, take advantage of our skill sets, take advantage of what we see maybe a opportunity against our opponents. So just having guys prepared, ready for situation, take advantage of it when it's there.
Mike, thanks.
2-2 as we start the top of the 5th, and it'll be Kyle Hendricks leading things off against John Gant. 8-9 then top of the order for Chicago. Hendricks, Bodie, and Rizzo. Kyle was a strikeout victim in his first at-bat tonight after trying to execute a sac. And behind 0-2 quickly here. Austin Gomber is up in the bullpen for the Cardinals. A very different looking bullpen this weekend as compared to what was here the first 3+ months of the season. A flurry of activities by the Cardinals, including DFAing a couple of veterans and starting the clock on some of their great young pitchers from the AAA level as Hendricks strikes out. Some of the adds and departures, in fact all of them of late for St. Louis, include a handful of guys that don't really have a lot of big league experience. Brett Cecil on the DL. Tui Vailala sent to Seattle. Holland and Lyons designated for assignment. Enter Seth Elledge with 0 career big league games. Dakota Hudson and Daniel Ponce de Leon made their big league debuts. And Chasen Shreve is on his way from New York. There's Dakota. Started the All-Star game at AAA this year. Here's David Bodie now, who takes a strike to make it 1-1.
You know, Matt, it's amazing what an impact a move like a Cole Hamels makes to a clubhouse. And what it does, it energizes your team. And the lack of a move can really demoralize a clubhouse. You feel like one feeling is if you get a guy like Cole Hamels, you feel there's alignment from ownership, from the fan base, from management. And you take a guy like Cole Hamels who's been good and you put him in this environment and the uptick's going to be great.
Well, you know, when you compare the two moves that each of these teams have made, you mentioned the Cubs acquiring the blue chip star in Hamels, the Cardinals tweaking the bullpen. You get it for the Cubs, right? You're in the throes of a pennant race. You want to add. You have the resources to do it. What I think the Cardinals did was exceptional because you completely overhaul your bullpen and you bring up your entire opening day rotation from AAA. You're still in a race. That one off Gant. A good recovery by Gyorko, but the throw's not in time. Cardinals want to see if Gomber's ready to go. It's going to be scored a base hit for Bodie.
This ball gets through for a base hit. And nice play, both ends. Good hustle. Base hit.
Looks like they're going to challenge this as well. So the call at first being challenged, and it comes as Gant waves off the medical staff. He was okay after the comebacker. Oh yeah, that's about as close as it gets. Did Carpenter's toe come off the bag after fielding throw? Awfully tough to tell in that look. We'll give you multiple angles, the same ones you're looking at in New York City at the replay center. And there it looks like they might have had him. Watch his foot.
I think it's up.
Wow.
You almost have to look.
The ball beats Bodie. We can say that much. We're just not sure if Carpenter stayed anchored on the bag long enough.
It looks like he's on. Almost wanted like an iPhone. You want to zoom? Yes!
Oh.
Wow!
Wow, that's pretty good.
I even took my fingers and did
Nice call, Jess.
Magic.
What else you want? You want to call home now?
No, she wants some more salsa.
It looks like his foot's on though when we zoomed it in.
That's going to be a tough one. Again, is there enough to overturn the call on the field, which was safe?
See there.
And regardless of what happens here, you know, Mike Shildt obviously has a decision to make with Anthony Rizzo coming up, already homered, and an 0-1 curveball to center field, and the left-hander ready in the bullpen now.
A good point. It's this has, if nothing else, given Gomber a lot of time to get himself hot. This is such a tough one. It is taking some time for them to get a good, clean decision here. That's a look that makes it look like
he's off.
He is off the bat.
You could almost back it up a little bit
though?
because it doesn't have to all the way be in the pocket. It's when it starts to get into the glove, or when it hits the back of the pocket. So it looks like he did pull his foot.
And the call on the field stands. Not enough to overturn the safe call. But Alex, to your point, here comes Mike Shildt, and now they've got plenty of time that their left-hander's been given to get hot, and it looks like the Cardinals will make a pitching change. Might have lost the challenge, but you kind of won the war, if you will. 1 out, 1 on, and a 2-2 tie and a pitching change. We'll be right back. And it is Rizzo responsible for our Corona premier moment. A home run in the third, career home run number 180, passing Derek Lee for 12th on the franchise home run list. Next up is Alfonso Soriano at number 11, 1 home run away. Rizzo batting here with a man on and 1 away against the new reliever for the Cardinals. Austin Gomber came up on the 24th from AAA Memphis. Made his first career major league start at Cincinnati that night, and did so to the tune of 6 1/3 without allowing a hit.
Look at Rizzo's back toe right now. Sorry, I mean, he is out of the batter's box. And he's known for crowding, but because it's the left-hander, this is when he is going to get on that plate even more to Gomber and really challenge him. Try to get in my kitchen. Try to get inside. I mean, that toe is pretty much over the line. He's crowding that much with that back foot.
Gomber checks Bodie at first and misses inside.
Jerry Lane, the crew chief, first base umpire, gets that call right. And as a result, for Anthony Rizzo, instead of playing the full shift, now you got a hitter's delight. They have to play you straight up. Carpenter has to be on the bag. And as a hitter, it just changes the complete game. You can go line to line and you're wide open.
Two balls and two strikes on Anthony Rizzo. Continues to crowd the plate against a left-hander. I mean, you can see that setup, Jess, getting back to your point, and it, in part, explains why he's been hit as often as he has.
Oh, yeah. I mean, think about the room for error. And to Gomber's credit, he's gotten in there. And Rizzo even backed off a little bit. But the go-to pitch for Gomber is that spike curveball. And so even though he's hammered him inside to get the 2-2 count, that pitch is coming.
Should be a breaking ball here.
Bounced up the middle. Great play by Munoz. Flips to DeYoung, and they get the force out on Bodie. Well done on a very tough chance.
And you see a little cutter here. Ball almost gets up the middle. Great play, even better toss. And what could be first and third and one out is two outs with a man on first and a great play. Great catch.
And Gomber reacts too. I mean, he was fired up. I mean, he comes in. You got a big hitter, big time moment, 2 strikes. And what looks like a ball that could leak up the middle ends up for a big time out.
Here's Ben Zobrist now.
That's one thing the Cardinals are trying to clean up. They lead the world in errors. And that's the kind of defense that we've been used to watching the Cardinals play over the last 4 or 5 decades.
Smash to third that eats up Gyorko and gets into the left field corner. Rizzo wraps around to third. Zobrist in at second, halfway to the cycle. 3/4 of the way to the cycle, rather. Homer single double for Ben Zobrist in his first 3 turns tonight.
The value of Ben Zobrist continues to show here tonight. Home run from the left side, and now takes a cutter in. Takes that barrel on top of the baseball. And this ball is tough. It's got a lot of topspin. And Gyorko just comes up. As a third baseman, you really want to stay grounded. You want to rub that glove right into the ground and be able to come up through it. He jabbed down at it, and that was the issue.
Jason Hayward now. Jedd Gyorko was not in the starting lineup tonight until about an hour before the scheduled start time of 7 o'clock local. Jose Martinez was a late scratch with an ankle injury, and Jedd Gyorko, who's been dealing with dizziness, he has been under the weather, was pressed into duty tonight. The strike to Hayward, 1-1. There's your guy Cafecito, Alex.
Cafecito, he can hit. And he brings a lot of energy and enthusiasm. Mike Schultz said he's a guy that we should get to know because he brings a great deal of personality to that Cardinals clubhouse.
2 balls and a strike to Jason Hayward. Jason's been very good against left-handed pitching of late, 7 for his last 14. And overall, a more than respectable .288 average against southpaws. Chopper. Munoz is there, and he kicks it. And that old Cardinal problem has reared its ugly head again tonight.
Alex, you jinxed him.
I jinxed him. So this should be out number 5 here. Munoz, who already made a very nice play earlier in the inning, takes his eye a little bit too casual. I'd love to see 2 hands on the ball, not one. A little bit lackadaisical. He's lucky this ball didn't get through for 2 RBIs. That ball, he was lucky catching it, and then he didn't get so lucky in the transfer.
Boy, not only does it cost the Cardinals a chance to end the inning, it cost them the lead. Rizzo scores on the error to Munoz, and there are runners at the corners now for Javi Baez, who is 0 for 2 tonight, and for the first time tonight takes a pitch. Boy, Alex, you mentioned the Cardinals leading the league in errors this year. That's something that has not happened through the course of a full season in 60 years.
Well, and talking to John Mozeliak, he said priority 1 is getting this defense back on track. Matt, you mentioned the starting pitching being one of the strengths. Their offense has maybe not been consistent, but it's shown so much life. It's been the defense.
In this environment where it's such a strikeout happy era, by putting the ball in play, teams are just not used to that type of pressure. By simply moving the ball forward, you see what you get, and you get this nightly all over Major League Baseball. The teams that can pitch and catch have such a big advantage in today's game, more so than ever before. The nonsense that every out is the same, it is wrong. And tonight is another example why putting the ball in play, hustling down the line like Hayward did, he busted it. That's what created the stress in Munoz. The stress level, error, Cubs are still hitting, and now they have a great matchup, righty-lefty, with their #1 RBI guy hitting.
Javi Baez, one of 4 players this year with at least 20 homers and 75 runs driven in. To 2-2 now. And it's pretty rare to find a second baseman leading the league in runs batted in. Baez currently second with a career-high 77. Last National Leaguer to do it, a Cardinal. Great Rogers Hornsby back in 1925. There's only been 1 American Leaguer to do it. Bret Boone for the 2001 Seattle Mariners, also known as the Boone in the Boone family. Into left field, a base hit and another run. And the error proves even more costly. Here's Hayward being given a green light. He'll score all the way from first.
Keep in mind, the Cardinals already have 5 outs. They should have been in the dugout minutes ago. Like I said, not a very favorable matchup for the Cardinals. Lefty against righty, their hottest hitter, and a bullet, a double. This inning is the epitome of why the Cardinals have struggled all year. Munoz with a huge error. A ball Gyorko should have made at third base, and they should be hitting right now. Instead, they're on the ropes, 5-2 Cubs.
2 more RBIs for Javi Baez, 1 off of Eugenio Suarez of the Reds for the National League lead now. Ball with no strikes to Wilson Contreras.
When a team beats themselves, whether it's football, basketball, or baseball, the opposition gets energized. They get confident. And they actually look at each other and go, are you kidding me? This is the big leagues. They're not making these plays. They do not deserve to win. Let's take them out of their misery and let's go beat them down.
You know, correct me if I'm wrong, and it's always kind of an easy blame game to play when you start firing coaches and managers and reshuffling that part of your organization. Errors are a personnel issue just as much, if not more so, than a coaching issue.
It's also contagious.
Yes.
You know, people talk about, Jessica, about hitting is contagious. Well, there's nothing scarier than you not feeling confident out there. I've been out at shortstop, and I've said, dear Lord, please don't hit the ball to me. Because there might be a wet ground. I already threw a ball in the seat. I do not want to be embarrassed. You can deal with an 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts. When you throw the ball away, you're destroying your team, and you're hurting that guy on the mound. He has to throw an extra 15, 20 pitches. There's a residual, a negative residual, not only for that pitcher, but for that bullpen. And everyone's looking at each other, and you just feel like you let the entire team down.
Colton Wong on the disabled list. And that's why Jairo Munoz is at second base tonight. Munoz is a good player, by the way. We're not singling out one player, even though that was a costly error. He's more than competent at second and at third, where he's had a lot of experience this year.
Well,
Still 2-2 to Contreras.
Even in the play that he made in the same inning earlier, the diving play up the middle to make a great grab, get an out at second. To your point, Matt, I mean, this is not the Munoz. He is a above average second baseman defensively.
So the count remains 2 balls and 2 strikes on Wilson Contreras. You know, in the interest of giving him his share of sunshine as well, this was a good play earlier in the inning.
And this is certainly not a Munoz issue. It's a big picture macro Cardinals issue. And it is so rare to see arguably the most fundamental team in baseball, where they're synonymous with fundamentals and great defense, for them to be able to kick the ball around like this.
Fastball misses the corner to fill the count to Contreras. It's 3-2 now.
And with Schwarber, the lefty, on deck, I would expect this pitch to be a pitcher's pitch and not give in. It is imperative for the Cardinals to keep it 5-2 here.
Three-two pitch home is hit in the air the other way. Fowler in right to put a merciful end to a tough inning. 3 come across to score with 2 outs. Middle of the night in a 5-2 Chicago lead. By Taco Bell after a 3-run top half of the 5th. The Cubs take a 5-2 lead to the bottom of the inning. St. Louis has Jairo Munoz and then the pitcher spot, followed by top of the order Matt Carpenter here in the home half of the 5th. Munoz a chance to perhaps atone for the defensive miscue that opened up the floodgates in the previous half inning. Jairo doubled in his first plate appearance tonight and has hit safely now in 21 of his last 23 starting assignments. 1-1. As we've been talking a lot about Jairo here this inning, worth noting that he has perhaps exceeded some of the expectations after being acquired from Oakland in the Stephen Piscotty trade last offseason. One of the 2 young players St. Louis received in that deal. And he's had a lot of opportunity and been a very good player for them this year. On the ground to third for Bodie. And 1 away.
It is paramount for a guy like Kyle Hendricks, who has limited fastball, to start in the middle of the plate and then expand it to the edges. The other way is dangerous because if you miss, you get in terrible counts. Here's an example. 0-2 fastball, him pitching ahead. 1-2 sinker, backdoor. Another sinker, 1-2. And now you'll see him working the changeup. 0-2 changeup. 1-2 changeup. And then a 2-2 changeup, which you didn't see. But the point is that Kyle Hendricks, if he's pitching behind, he's not good. If he's pitching ahead, he's great, like he showed in the 2016 World Series in Game 7, where it was a masterpiece.
The pinch hitter for St. Louis is Greg Garcia, batting with 1 gone here and the bases empty. And as you can see, Hendricks is on a pretty good roll right now, having retired 9 in a row.
Alex, what I like too with Hendricks, to your point now that he's behind, but what he's done tonight with his 2-seam fastball, front dooring the lefties, and you pointed out back dooring the righties, but that glove side of the plate has been a really nice pitch for him because of the bend that he gets on it. So to lefties, he'll throw it at that front hip and then have it run back over the plate for a strike. And we've seen a few batters kind of look back at the umpire, look back at Contreras and be like, are you kidding me right now?
And Garcia sprays a fly ball the other way. Out from shortstop is Russell to make the play for route number 2. A reminder, MLB.TV is available now at a lower price of $82.99. You can watch every out-of-market regular season game live or on demand. Your subscription includes MLB At-Bat Premium, allowing you to watch live baseball on your favorite supported devices. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV to take advantage of this special offer. Here's Matt Carpenter now, the top of the order with 2 gone and the bases empty. And the Cubs, as they have done for the better part of the last 3+ years, will play Carpenter in the shift. Something that neither Chicago nor St. Louis do a lot of these days. Cardinals in particular, very infrequent shifters under manager Mike Schultz. And Carpenter behind 0-2.
That's one thing, though, that Matt Carpenter, we talk about that hot streak, and with that hot streak has come his pull percentage. I mean, he is pulling the ball more than he ever has in his career, especially the last few months. So you see the Cubs, a team that does not shift very often. When you have the extremes like a Carpenter, that's why you see them all on the right side of the field.
Well, whether it was the shift or really good matchups, because Jake Arrieta was among those that kind of had Carpenter's number of late. Chicago pitching had done a very good job containing Carpenter until about the middle of this season. And Carpenter's so hot that I don't think there's a staff on the planet that can contain him right now. This season in 15 games, 8 home runs. But here a strikeout victim for the second time tonight. 11 in a row set down by Kyle Hendricks in a 5-2 Cubs lead.
He's certainly one of the greatest switch hitters of all time. Just doesn't get any better than Jim Thome.
Number 600 for Jim Thome. There's a drive to left, and it is gone. A two-run homer by Trammell. Got him swinging, and he has his no-hitter. 600 for Trevor Hoffman. There it is.
Vlad Guerrero, everything he swings that he hits. He's just unbelievable.
The class of 2018 has taken its rightful place in the hallowed halls of Cooperstown. Chipper Jones, Jim Thome, Vlad Guerrero, and Trevor Hoffman, and via the special committee vote, Alan Trammell and Jack Morris, who have been long deserving of the honor, all inducted officially today. Boy, it's getting into the vintage of player, Alex, that you have a lot of familiarity with. It's the first thing that pops into your mind when you look at that group of new Hall of Famers.
I mean, not only great players, but great people. And, you know, Chipper Jones is a guy that I watched his last game in high school, Jacksonville Bulls. He's pitching in the mound. He pitches a complete game. Last pitch he ever threw in high school, tight game, ball goes right through the second baseman's legs, kind of a Bill Buckner moment. He comes in, he either gets in a fight or punches a wall. and you know, give Shorholtz, Atlanta Braves general manager, and Bobby Cox a lot of credit. They had so much conviction that the media was saying you should shy away from this guy and not pick up number 1 in 1990.
Right.
Well, they did exact opposite of that. They stick with him, and obviously it worked out incredibly well for the Atlanta Braves.
You know, it really worked out because as Kyle Schwarber swings and misses against new pitcher John Brebbia. Remember, Todd Van Poppel was the guy that year that was the consensus #1 overall player. And the Braves pivoted because Van Poppel came with some, I guess, demands contractually that scared off a few teams. He slipped until a little bit lower in the draft.
He was represented by Scott Boras, and I believe he was drafted #2 by Oakland.
Correct. Oakland took him a little later in the draft, and boy, it couldn't have worked out any better for the Atlanta Braves with Chipper Jones going into the Hall of Fame today.
And then, Jessica, when you think about Jim Thome, I mean, this has to be one of the world's greatest, not baseball players, one of the world's greatest guys. And I remember the first time when he was playing third base for John Hart's Cleveland Indians, and he gets to second base, and this guy's bigger than life. I mean, he is an enormous man. He's got the knees up, the socks up to his knees, and I'm nervous, and he hits a double, and I said, hey, nice job, Jim. And he goes, Alex Rodriguez. First of all, I was so excited that Thome knew my name, but then he says, you are going to be unbelievable. I'm a big fan of yours. I'm like, what, did you watch Westminster Baseball or something? Just an awesome guy. From that day on, I was an enormous, huge Jim Thome fan. Congrats to Jimmy.
Jim Thome voice, too. You just channeled right there.
Pretty good.
Alex Rodriguez.
And then if you think about Vladimir Guerrero, I believe he's the second Dominican ever. When you think about a unique, he's the third Dominican baseball player into the Hall of Fame. Just a great day for Dominican Republic, a great day for baseball.
Yes.
And Jack Moore is one of the all-time great clutch pitchers. Boy, I wish we were all there watching. It's just a great week for baseball.
Can I also offer it was a great day for San Diego, too, with not only Trevor Hoffman getting in, but Alan Trammell, who's a San Diego native, and both of those guys still make their home there. I know that San Diego had a lot of great representation in Cooperstown, New York today. Terrific weekend and a well-deserving honor for the new group of Hall of Famers.
And Trevor Hoffman, who obviously is synonymous with Mariano Rivera, who will probably get in, I'm hoping, unanimous next year, if not close. Alan Trammell, for any of us who played shortstops, before Cal Ripken and right after Ernie Banks, it was Alan Trammell and Lou Whitaker. Of course, in the 1984 famous World Series, he was the role model. He was the gold standard.
Swing and a miss by Addison Russell, and there are two gone, and it's no sooner than the new inductees have their plaques hung, Buster, that we talk about next year's group.
Yeah, and Alex was referencing this. Among the first-year Hall of Fame candidates who'll be on the ballot in the year coming up, who's most likely to gain induction? Roy Halladay, Todd Helton, Andy Pettitte, Mariano Rivera. Not surprisingly, the vote of about 57,000. Mariano Rivera had the highest percentage, 79.
A very quick 1-2-3 inning by John Brebbia as Mariano Rivera was the winner in the Whole Quest. That might be the biggest runaway winner of the year so far.
Mariano!
Still 5-2 Cubs. Week Monday doubleheader. That's tomorrow night. Phillies and Red Sox is the opener. The nightcap. Brewers in Los Angeles, and then the Phillies and Red Sox back on ESPN on Tuesday for Jake Arrieta and Drew Pomerantz. Jessica, Alex, Buster, and I will be in Boston a week from tonight for the Yankees and Red Sox on Sunday Night Baseball.
Yes.
Well, Kyle Hendricks back to work as we hit you with tonight's pitching summary brought to you by Cricket Wireless. And Hendricks has been great. He's retired 11 in a row. He has struck out 7, that coming on the heels of a season best 8 strikeout performance Tuesday against the Diamondbacks. John Gant lasting into the 5th in a 5-2 Cubs lead. Yadi Molina, Paul DeYoung, and Marcel Ozuna go back to work here in the 6th inning. You know, we talked a little bit about Anthony Rizzo's ascent up the Cubs franchise leaderboard, and for Molina, with all the salt on his hat, it's the same story. Yesterday, he passed Hall of Famer Enos Slaughter for 4th on the Cardinals' all-time games played list. He now trails only Ozzie Smith, Lou Brock, and Stan Musial. And you better believe he's going to have his number and picture on that wall at some point.
Indeed, indeed. And he will be in Cooperstown one day. Again, one of 3 brothers, all 3 brothers catchers, all 3 brothers world champions.
Only 3 players ahead of him on the Cardinals games played list, and only 3 players ahead of him on the all-time, or 14, on the all-time games caught list in Major League history. Two balls and 2 strikes to count to Molina, leading off the bottom half of the 6th. You know, the search will be conducted at some point for a full-time Cardinals manager, because Mike Shildt has the interim tag on him as we speak, and Mike may well be the guy that gets the full-time job. We're not sure, but Alex, Jess, we were speculating about this a week and a half ago.
Yes, I know where you're headed.
Major League Baseball has not seen a player manager since Pete Rose, and it hasn't seen a player manager among catchers since Bill Dickey of the 1946 Yankees. Molina strikes out.
I mean, he's already half manager, I feel like, anyway, when you talk about how he handles the staff, the team. I mean, so much credit. Even talking to Mike Maddox as he came on board this year as the pitching coach, he felt like he needed to talk to Yadi or Molina first about how he would handle the staff, because he knew that Molina had so much influence already. But I mean, he's someone that's clearly going to be a manager. He's built to be a manager. So I love the idea of at least some sort of way to get him to do both.
I mean, it's got to be such a cool thing to watch happen. To watch, say, Frank Robinson as a player manager with the Indians, pinch hitting himself and making those decisions while in uniform and on the field. I'd love to see another player manager in baseball.
I had an opportunity a couple weekends ago when we were in Wrigley to spend some time with the analytics department that Theo Epstein built called the Ivy. And I got to tell you, when you go down, it's so impressive and so different than when I first started. Ouch. That some of these departments look like they're hedge funds or private equity groups. And there's so many of these really, really smart mathematic guys down there and women that I would say, if it was a decade ago, Matt, I would say, yeah, why not? Pete Rose did it, Frank Robinson did it. And today, with the amount of information that you have to digest and basically baby feed. I mean, you imagine if it's all this information to a young kid like Wilson Contreras or any young catcher is too much. So you have 5, 6, 8 people kind of saying, what are the 3 most important things we can give? And that's how you baby feed it.
Right.
And that's about right.
Yeah.
So too much information, I think, for players to be a manager and a player in today's era.
I get it. I get your point. It would be awesome to see. I mean, baseball, it's a little more doable, I think, in this game than it would be in the NFL or the NBA these days, right? Fly ball to right for Zobrist.
Well, I feel like you could still have those people. And even now, it's almost there's translators. Translators that literally will translate the numbers information to understand the player's ability to be able to intake that. And a lot of the information is coming through the analytics department and people that they've hired to be able to take what people can understand. Some want it all, like Kyle Hendricks, Dartmouth graduate. I mean, give him the numbers. He'll take it all. And you get younger players that they just need very simple ways to understand all the information that's out there.
Well, Matt, you mentioned the NBA. I mean, LeBron James is not only the general manager, he's a coach, he's a player, he's an agent. I mean, that's a whole different level.
He's the head marketing.
He doesn't actually have the title, but I believe Dave Cowens was the last player coach in the NBA with the Celtics in the 70s, but you're right.
An agent.
That's right. That's right. Marcel Ozuna batting now with a 2-ball, no-strike count against Kyle Hendricks, who has retired 13 in a row and has allowed only 1 hit since the rocky start to the game, in which he gave up the 3 hits and the 2 runs in the first.
I'm not sure what's going to happen with Mike Schultz. I mean, he's a baseball lifer, Jessica. Spending time with him the last few times, he is a delight to speak to, and he's a guy that he's a wonderful man, but ultimately he's going to be judged on wins and losses.
On the ground for Russell, 14 in a row retired by Kyle Hendricks, rolling right along with a 5-2 Chicago lead. To Busch Stadium tomorrow for the first of a 4-game series. Molina and Carpenter in action at home. Get your tickets at Cardinals.com. And they're taking on a hot Rockies team who, after a sweep of the Oakland A's in Denver this weekend, find themselves just 1 game back of the Dodgers in a tightly contested NL West. David Bote leads things off in the Cubs half of inning number 7. 5-2 Chicago the score. A 3-run 5th separator tonight. Bote, Rizzo, and Zobrist against John Brebbia in his 2nd inning of relief work. David Bote has a hit tonight on his line. Up with the big league team for the 5th time this year. He has been the guy. Up and down from AAA all season long.
And according to Joe Madden, he's the right guy for it. I mean, he compares him to Ben Zobrist in a lot of ways. First with his attitude, but also the versatility. I mean, David Bote's a guy that plays 3rd base, has played 2nd base, will play a little outfield, can play shortstop. Very versatile, which you hear a lot with Cubs players.
Second strikeout for John Brebbia tonight. ESPN technology is built for baseball, brought to you by T-Mobile, using our front row camera. The high hard one. And 4 in a row retired by Brebbia. Boy, that beard's coming in nice too. He's got the Yukon Cornelius thing going. 1 gone for John.
Yukon Cornelius, yes. That's old school Christmas. What?
Thanks. I'm glad you're on board with that.
Sorry, I love that. I love Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the original.
The original.
When they're like not even really animated. They're
Right.
still like kind of puppets.
Yeah. Bruce Sutter had a nice one. It wasn't quite as ginger. Rizzo with a fly ball out to center for Pham, coming on hard and sliding to make a nice catch.
Tommy Pham, we've seen him all over tonight. An athletic move that he had against Hayward on a ball hit over his head that he jumped up last minute, was able to grab, and then the read on this one and the decision to go down to catch it, because this is dying almost like a sinker going down fast. So even though he can stay on his feet and he almost bobbles it there, I like that he gets down to his knees just to get eye level.
Oh, man.
Off the chest. Glove, chest, back to the glove. Good thing he got his body behind it.
Here's Ben Zobrist now with 2 gone, and Zobrist is a triple shy of a noteworthy night. It's already been a big night for him with a homer, a single, and a double. The last cycle by a Chicago Cub came back in May of 1993.
How many times have you said in your broadcasting career, though, a triple short of the cycle?
Way too many times. It's almost not worth bringing up.
Hear that? Like,
but
I get if it's a single short,
I know.
because that's like, that can happen.
I get you. It's just what we do. You don't go up there looking for the triple to finish the cycle. I totally get it. I just think it's been so long for the Cubs since they've had one, and whenever Mark Grace was the last to do anything, I like to give him a pop. Because he's an all-time favorite.
And that's not a you thing. That's for sure just, I feel like, a baseball thing. It's always a triple short of the cycle. One of the hardest things to do as a hitter.
Well, here's
the percentages.
As shallow as Pham is playing in center field, there's a lot of real estate in right center, so you can see it.
He's going to hit one right here. Prove me wrong.
And here's another reason why I think it's interesting, because the Cubs, as long as they've been around, and for as many good offensive teams as they've had on the field the last couple of decades, they've got the 4th longest drought without one. The Reds, the Royals, and the Marlins, who've never had a cycle.
Go for it.
Keep going, Ben. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
Oh, so close.
So you guys don't agree with our colleague Boog Shambi, who thinks that cycles are completely overrated. Like, he can't stand the conversation around it.
I love a cycle when it happens. And I love a cycle when it's a single or I mean, honestly, anything but a triple short of it. I love the anticipation. You know, I disagree that a cycle is overrated. I mean, it's almost impossible to do.
It's not as an accomplishment. I think it's a little overrated, but as something that's just kind of interesting, I love it.
And honestly, as a game, like 4th at bat, like you got to get one, especially if the one's a single. Like, you've already got the triple, the home run, the double, and bloop something in.
Jess, any cycles in your career?
No.
Alex?
I would have lost a lot of money there. I would have guessed like 5.
So in softball,
but the field
because
is too
of 7
small,
innings,
right?
we don't get 4 at bats very often.
There you go. You lost me. I'm sorry. Yikes. I'm lost.
Did you ever have one, Alex?
I think I had one that I remember. It was back in 96 or 97 at Detroit, at the old Detroit. And Matt, the last one was a little blooper, lucky blooper over first base. And here's the best part of the story. Dave Niehaus, the great Niehaus who passed away, he made up his name A-Rod. And
he's the one?
Yes, he's the one. They had a contest in Seattle where a fan would win $1 million. So the coolest part about that was some great family in the Pacific Northwest won $1 million because of my lucky bloop.
Are you serious?
Yeah, yeah.
The birth of A-Rod.
You wouldn't even find video. It was so long ago, Jess. That's all time ago.
How did you triple at Tiger Stadium? Somebody must have fallen down. And that was a small little place.
Well, you remember in center field you had the 440.
Yeah,
and that's actually the only place you can actually get a triple, Matt. That's great memory. Down the lines, there was a porch.
Yeah.
And you remember the home run by Kirk Gibson, of course, when he faced, I believe it was Goose, and the upper deck hung over Darrell Evans, Lou Whitaker, all the lefties used to hit him right into that upper deck. It would hang over the fence.
No, you're right, and I'd forgotten what a deep center field was there. The only thing you remember from that place, at least I remembered, was the porch. Man, So there's ball 4 to Jason Hayward. And here comes Mike Maddox out to chat with Brebbia. No problems against Bodie and Rizzo. A strikeout and a fly ball to center. And then Zobrist singled, and Hayward has walked with 2 gone. A reminder, the MLB At Bat mobile app brings you every baseball moment to your favorite device. Catch it all season with the free MLB.TV game of the day, in-game highlights, stats, news, and more. Click on the Boog Shambi tab for the latest on Major League cycle history. It's your #1 app for live baseball. Two out, 2 on, and for the Cubs, an opportunity to add on. This was a similar circumstance for Javi Baez in the 5th. 2 out, 2 on, and he doubled in a pair. One shy of Cincinnati's Eugenio Suarez for the National League RBI lead, with numbers 78 and 79 coming tonight. Back-to-back takes from a guy who swings at over 60% of the pitches that he sees this year.
Got a little Vlad Guerrero on him. Watching him going to the Hall of Fame. See Tyler Webb warming up in the bullpen for the Cardinals. I remember watching Guerrero and loving it. I was a free swinger. Watching Javi Baez.
Lines to third for Gyorko, who will put an end to the 7th. Up and stretching here in St. Louis. And a 5-2 Chicago lead. It's Intentional Talk, a fun 1-hour breakdown of baseball's hottest topics with Chris Rose and Kevin Millar. You can also watch it live on the ESPN app if you're at work. Jedd Gyorko leads things off in the St. Louis half of the 7th. Cardinals down by 3. Gyorko, Pham, and Fowler. As Kyle Hendricks opens the 7th inning, going into territory that has been hard for him to navigate this year. 2 balls and a strike to count to Jedd Gyorko.
Buster, I'm wondering how you feel about, you know, Matheny gets fired, Mike Shilton, and ultimately he's going to have to, in fairness to him, maybe have a full year to put his defense and kind of his DNA into this team. But when somebody gets fired, the whole organization gets a praise from top to bottom. Now they have an incredible, great owner in Bill DeWitt. But the question is, Jeff Luhnow, he was here in 2003 to 2011. You have the championship in 2006. In 2011, they drafted all these great young players. And now he goes to Houston, and he goes out and builds a squad. And the question is, did Jeff Luhnow take some of his magic and take it down south to Houston? I think that's a fair question to what's going on here in St. Louis, because it looks like they've lost their way a little bit.
And that's the question that's been asked in other front offices when they look at what's going on with the Cardinals and the roster in recent years. Was Jeff Luhnow that important to those teams? Was Walt Jocketty that important to those teams? And that's going to be the challenge for John Mozeliak, who heads up the baseball operations, to get this roster right again.
A ball and a strike to count to Tommy Pham.
You know, I know Jeff Luhnow, Buster, started the academy in Dominican Republic. He started opening up in Venezuela. And there's a lot of things. When you're the #2 guy, you don't get the credit of the championships. But now he goes to front and center in Houston and builds what looks to be a dynasty here, maybe for the next 3 to 5 years.
Well, I will say this, as Pham grounds out to shortstop, and it gets back to the point we made earlier. For John Mozeliak and the Cardinals to completely overhaul their bullpen with previously untested young arms, the way they did this weekend in the throes of a pennant race. And yes, they're still in it. They're only 7 out in the division, 4.5 back in the wild card. Nobody's conceding anything around here. They are attempting to do a very difficult dance, and that's kind of retool on the fly and stay competitive. And I give the Cardinals a lot of credit for making those gutsy decisions, changing managers, rehauling a bullpen. If the team was 30 games back and thinking we'll go get him in 2020, it's easy to make those changes. But they're doing so in a very tight race this year.
And eating money of contracts like a Holland and a Brett Seitzel, and making a difficult decision, firing a manager in the middle of the season, what, the first time in 23 years. Absolutely. And you get the sense, and we've seen the Cardinals now twice since the All-Star break, there is a different energy. There's no doubt about it.
2 balls and a strike to count to Dexter Fowler. Fowler's 0 for 2 so far tonight, and there's a flare out to shallow right. Zobrist on and lays out to make the catch. But Ben Zobrist is having himself a great night on both sides of the scorecard.
Ben Zobrist with the jump, the grab, reaching out, difficult catch, and he makes it.
ESPN is presented by Taco Bell's Nacho Fries, this summer's tastiest blockbuster. A terrific outing from Kyle Hendricks tonight, going 7 or more for just the second time in his last 12 starts. And after a shaky start to this night, after he allowed the 2-run homer to Marcel Ozuna, he put it right back on the tracks and is in line for a win tonight, should his bullpen hold up this evening. Speaking of bullpens, a bullpen move for the Cardinals as left-hander Tyler Webb will take over on the mound for St. Louis. They'll get the middle of the Cubs order in a 5-2 Cubs lead. And Wilson Contreras greets him with a line shot out to left that'll drop in front of Ozuna. A leadoff single for Wilson Contreras. Well, I know that as Tyler Webb came from the Padres this year, that the long-standing color announcer in San Diego, Mark Grant, wore out the Caddyshack material because Ty Webb happened to be the character name of Chevy Chase in the aforementioned late 70s comedy. So how do you measure yourself against other golfers? By height, ... Google all the lines. Save me from myself for the next few pitches at least.
I'm all for Caddyshack.
Got to change defensively behind Tyler Webb.
Cafecito.
There he is. Taking over in right. A ball and a strike to Kyle Schwarber.
Now the reason we call him Cafecito, his father, who played for the Indians, is infamous for the fly ball he hit to right field to Jose Canseco, who hit off his head for a home run. His nickname was Cafe.
We got Junior with Cafecito.
And this is Cafecito.
Ball and 2 strikes to Schwarber.
Man, has he been swinging the bat this season, last season too, but a big part of their offensive production has struggled with the glove, and that's why he hasn't had as many starts. A guy I think we'll eventually end up seeing in the American League.
Yeah, and those conversations are happening right now. There's some thought among other teams that he might move before the deadline, 4 o'clock Eastern time on Tuesday. We'll just have to see, but for the exact reason you just laid out, Jess, that he's seen as more of an American League player and not someone who is in natural defensive position.
Buster, do you think a guy like
Tough short hop for Carpenter, and he will turn the double play.
Or not.
Or not.
Jerry Lane just made 1 call, not 2 calls. So
Contreras got back.
What Carpenter had to do to get the double play is tag Carpenter first and then touch the bag. The minute you touch the bag, the force is out of play. Tricky play there for Carpenter. Nice call by 29-year veteran crew chief Jerry Lane.
I think that ball got to Matt so quickly it just locked him up.
Sure did.
And Contreras did the right thing by freezing. Addison Russell now with a fly ball out to left for Ozuna, and out number 2. Alex Askin, you shall receive the aforementioned Jose Martinez Sr. ill-begotten fly ball in '93. There it is. Jose Martinez Jr. Cafecito. His dad hit that ball 25 years ago. His dad passed away after a long bout with stomach cancer at a far too young age. And a strike to Albert Almora Jr., the pinch hitter here with a man on and 2 away.
And his father, just a great personality, also a guy that can hit, can play a little third base, first base, corner outfield. Good guy and a very likable teammate.
Oh, 0-2 to Albert Almora. Boy, the depth of the Cubs is really illustrated on nights like tonight, when two big-time offensive players, guys like Ian Happ, Albert Almora, aren't even in the starting lineup. Jam shot, and a tough play for DeYoung. Got to hurry, he's going to eat it. And now they've got Contreras hung up off the bag at second. That will end the inning. Well played by Paul DeYoung. Not so much on the other side. To the bottom of the 8th, still a 5-2 Chicago lead. Sports Center. Alex is just getting wind of the fact that he'll talk to SVP about the trade deadline.
One way to find out. You're on the promo.
Plus Louis Riddick on what to expect from the Eagles this season, and the latest SC featured an amazing story about former Olympic high jumper Jamie Nieto, who had a spinal cord injury 2 years ago and vows to walk down the aisle on his wedding day. Again, Sports Center next with SVP right here on ESPN.
Need some trade tidbits there, Alex?
I guess so. It's great. We get all our news from ESPN, including the people in the booth. I just turned around to Jessica.
That was the
Matt,
best. That was the best in the commercial.
Am I on TV afterwards?
You pointed to your name. You're like, that's me. Am I talking to Scott Van Pelt?
Jairo Munoz will lead things off in the Cardinals' half of the 8th. 6 outs left for St. Louis to try to finish off a 3-game weekend sweep of rival Chicago, and some changes for the Cubs defensively as Carl Edwards Jr. starts Munoz with a 96-mile-an-hour fastball for a strike. Edwards has been great, one of the primetime relievers in what's been a very good Cubs bullpen this year, making his 33rd appearance of the year with an ERA under 3.
He's got an electric fastball that honestly is such a beautiful four-seam fastball with the spin. You hear spin rate getting thrown around there so much, but for him, his ability to elevate that pitch, the movement that it has off of it, and then the curveball that's devastating when he's throwing it right off of that same window of that four-seam fastball.
Breaking ball stays upstairs, and it's 3-1 to Munoz. And the defensive changes behind Edwards. It's a reshuffled outfield with Ben Zobrist moving to left, Albert Almora taking over in center, and Jason Hayward sliding over to his familiar right field spot. Check the count. 2 balls and a strike. 2 balls and a strike on Jairo Munoz. 2-2 now to a very good 2-strike hitter. In fact, Munoz so good with 2 strikes, a .284 batting average in 2-strike counts. That would be the best Cardinals 2-strike batting average by a rookie since the stat was first tracked in 1988. And he hangs in there on 2 strikes.
And how about Kyle Hendricks going 7 innings tonight? We talked about a weakness for the Cubs has been their starting pitching, and a big part of that is their inability to go deep into games, the amount of pitches. And we had Kyle Hendricks last Thursday, first game back after the break, and he had a ton of pitches for even through the first 3 innings. Tonight, a lot more efficient. And the best pitch, even though he's known for his changeup, tonight was his 2-seam fastball.
You know, Jess, is very, very exciting for the entire organization and for that guy right there, Joe Maddon, who can forecast, you know, Lester, Hendricks, and now Cole Hamels. And it's been a very sobering year with the debacle of the start of Yu Darvish, who's been devastating. I mean, a guy to start a 6-year contract with 3 of the worst months you can ever see. I mean, I know he threw a 10-pitch bullpen, then a 16-pitch bullpen, and then he said his arm was hurting, and it's gotten so bad around. Now, they won't say this publicly, but it's gotten so bad they've let him basically police and take control of his own rehab, which is scary because they don't want to create anything that he can kind of push back against. So he'll let the team know when he's ready, which, let me just tell you what that means to a clubhouse. You lose respect quickly. And my concern for him, because he's a great young talent, is it may take 2 or 3 or 4 years. You may never get that back. The other side of that is Chatwood, Tyler, who's actually struggled, but has gone out there. He's posted.
Puts his neck out there every start. No, when he doesn't have his best stuff.
Exactly, Jess. And he gets beat down, but gets back up. He takes a punch and gets back up. And you'll never see players complain or whine about a guy like that. They actually back him. So this is an issue that if you're Cubs Nation, you have to watch the Yu Darvish development because it's not good inside that clubhouse right now.
0-1 the count to Jose Martinez. Well, Darvish earlier today played catch in the rain. Kind of an abbreviated throwing session, if you will, off of quote-unquote flat ground.
And Matt, the problem is, you know, I'm pretty passionate about this because when you have 25 players coming to the stadium, you're there to do one thing, and that's win a ball game. You want all the energy, all the focus, all the analytics, all the stretching. What are we going to do today to win a ball game? And when you have a guy that signs an enormous contract and he's sitting down and you walk in the training room and he's got 2 trainers working on him, you go into the video room and you have a guy looking at video. You should be in Arizona somewhere getting treated, but don't get in the way of 25 players going after one mission, that's win a ball game.
1-2 to Jose Martinez. 2 balls and 2 strikes now. Well, after the ship sailed and Jake Arrieta was allowed to leave via free agency, the Cubs ponied up and spent twice as much on the Darvish-Chatwood combination for about half the return. Arrieta's been pretty good in his first of 3 years as a Philly.
Oh yeah, the Cubs would take that. 3.45 ERA.
Martinez lines to right. Hayward slides and makes a great catch on a tough chance.
Well, and he overran the ball is what happened. I mean, this is a line drive into the gap. He gets a great jump and think that this ball is going to continue into the gap, and he basically overruns it. And this is showing you, to me, what makes a great outfielder is when you're able to get the jump that he gets, and then the ball is now tailing and you adjust on the fly. So see him overrun, have to go back, slide as that ball tails back towards the line. That's not easy to do. As you're running, slide down, get to eye level, and make the grab.
One of the best in the business out there. 5 Gold Gloves, and only 2 players in baseball have more defensive runs saved at any position than Jason Hayward since the start of the 2014 season. First pitch to Matt Carpenter, rifled into right field. Here come the Cards. Munoz to third. Runners at the corners with one away in the 8th.
Gosh, is Matt Carpenter seeing the ball so big right now, but his hands, Matt, you think about 95 miles an hour, and you got to understand Carl Edwards Jr. is closer material. I mean, his stuff plays. We talked about the spin rate. This is 95 in on the hands, but look at the hands of Matt Carpenter. Him getting the simplicity of just getting the barrel to this pitch that's bearing in on him. When you're hot, you're hot, but for Matt Carpenter right now, you know he's swinging it well when you can't get in the kitchen, and he's able to get the barrel to that 95 inner half.
Yadi Molina has been just as hot, and he's got a big opportunity as the tying run here in the 8th. A double and a run scored tonight. He's enjoyed a 3-hit game in 2 of his last 4. Guessing at a breaking ball that time.
Dirty. I mean, not only did it have the break, but then also the depth moving away from the bat of Molina.
And Molina took a shot there to make this game 5-5 with a 3-run homer. He's a very good contact hitter, great situational hitter.
Back-to-back breaking balls. Carl Edwards Jr. is pitching perfectly to the scouting report. Yadi Molina hits about 100 points south on a breaking ball as compared to the fastball this year. You see Carl talking to himself on top 0-2.
Great take. You gotta love Yadi or Molina with his body. He wanted so bad, and that's the first pitch. Same location that he swung and missed on, but you watch his body, his ability to slow it down and stop. So he doesn't swing for strike 3.
This should be a fastball.
It is one well outside and hit in the air out to Hayward in right, who will camp under it to make the catch. They will hold Munoz at third.
Wow. That's some respect for the arm of Hayward.
Wow.
And I think that's the difference of a 3-run lead there. It's a closer game. You got to go for it, but in this case the run doesn't matter. With the arm of Hayward, if this is on, it's a very close play, but he's deep enough to where if this is a 1-run ball game, you got to go.
And Yadi's heartbroken.
That's he poked a 2-strike. That's what you want. Pitcher's pitch, fastball away. He did everything he could with that to try to get that run in.
So it'll be up to Paul DeJong now. We'll see how Edwards goes about facing DeJong, and I think just to answer the question, he starts him with a fastball. DeJong, a completely different kind of hitter against right-handed pitching than Yadi Molina is.
Edwards' signature pitch is a fastball up, and it cuts naturally. Mariano Rivera for the Yankees was exactly the same way. They don't mean to cut it. They throw it like a 4-seamer, and the ball cuts. And that usually creates, Jessica, some reverse splits. Tougher against lefties because that ball comes into you. It chases you.
That's why I credit the at-bat of Matt Carpenter so much, because that's exactly what that pitch did to him. Showing how well he's swinging the bat to hit that pitch in right field.
Saw Steve Cishek up in the bullpen for Chicago. 2 balls and no strikes, the count to Paul DeJong, who, just to finish the thought on why he's a different hitter than Yadi Molina, hits about 200 on what's considered an above average fastball, 94 or hotter. He feasts on the breaking pitch, and there's a good heater to make him swing and miss.
Well, it's flat out by him, and when you see that, and he could show him the breaking ball, is a chase pitch, but when you, as a pitcher for Contreras behind the plate, I mean, he is late on 94.
Nothing but fastballs to him to even the count now at 2-2.
And when you're a pitcher and you throw a fastball right down the middle on a 2-0 count, and you throw it right by him, it's demoralizing for a hitter, and it gives the pitcher a great deal of confidence.
The 2-2 pitch. Got him on another fastball. Perfect execution by Carl Edwards Jr. He keeps the 3-run lead in check by retiring a couple of hot-hitting Cardinals, and a still 5-2 Chicago lead. Chicago lead. Cubs trying to avoid being swept for the second time this year by the St. Louis Cardinals, and on their way toward doing that with a late lead tonight. Ty Webb continues on the mound for St. Louis as David Bote leads things off for Chicago. Bote, Rizzo, and Zobrist. A ball and a strike on Bote, who has a single on his line tonight. He's hit safely in each of his last 4 starts. Anthony Rizzo has homered tonight.
David Bote, a guy that Joe Maddon has been high on for a couple years now.
Bote sends one into the left center field gap. Well hit. Ozuna looks up and it bounds into the stands.
Big hit for David Bote, and Anthony Rizzo had a big hit back in the 3rd inning, his home run, and we've seen his swing and the power that he's got. It starts with that load that he gets with that leg kick, allowing his hip drive to get into place, the power, that rubber band effect, and then the bat path. We hear so much about launch angle and basically getting in that slot position. Anthony Rizzo doing all 3 on time there on a pitch that was 77 miles an hour. Crushed it.
So Rizzo, with a chance to play the late insurance score here, takes a strike.
Buster, I'm interested to know what you think about the next 36 hours when it comes to trades, anything like that. We talked about a guy like Gary Sanchez who's being watched right now closely by the New York media and the national media for not running. Is he a guy you would target? Besides just the conventional, any unconventional people out there that you think could be available?
Oh, no question about it. The question in the industry is, what are the Nationals going to do after they lost today and fell below 500? Are they going to put Bryce Harper out on the market?
Wow. Rizzo sharply hit to second. Munoz bobbles but recovers to get him. Well, let's take a look at a partial list here, Buster, with the deadline just hours away, 4 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday.
Yeah, Chris Archer, he's the best available starting pitcher. Brian Dozier, who's been talked about by the Cleveland Indians, perhaps the Giants. Adam Jones, I don't think he's going to move. I think the indication the Orioles are getting is he wants to stay there. He has a full no trade. Keone Kela, who may be the best reliever available. But if the Nationals decide they're going to sell, they could put Kelvin Herrera out there. They may put Ryan Madson out there as well.
Ben Zobrist with a pop into foul territory that nobody has a play on.
Yeah, I thought the Brewers were going to go after Brian Dozier. Instead, they went after Mike Moustakas, moved Travis Shaw from third base to second base, which I'm interested to see how. I mean, he's not your typical second base build.
Doesn't have a lot of experience there either. Precious little.
He can rake, he can hit, and as you get in the postseason, which is exactly where the Brewers want to head, you've got to prioritize the defense too. So I like Brian Dozier as an option for them.
Well, I really thought that was a slam dunk as well, Jess. If not Dozier, then it's Drupal Cabrera, who went elsewhere, and it's 0-2 now on Zobrist.
And I'm fascinated about Chris Archer because, as I said, right now it looks like he's the best available starter. The Mets have no intention of changing their minds and trading Jacob deGrom or Noah Syndergaard. But the team that has been really involved on Chris Archer to this point, the San Diego Padres, who aren't even in contention, but they're looking for an anchor for that rotation moving forward.
He's not up, right? Archer's signed through 2021.
Very club-friendly deal.
That's exactly right. He has team options for 2020, 2021, and maybe that's what the Padres would bank on. But shoot, if you're willing to pay sticker price at the trade deadline, you can wait. There'll always be that guy available for you if you're willing to pay a really high price.
Hey, Buster, if Harper ends up going to a team like, let's role play here, and he goes to the Dodgers, and now they have Machado and Harper. I guess two questions. Number one, which one do you think the Dodgers go after? And I know that Harper being represented by Scott Boras, does that help, hurt? How does that fit into the equation?
Wow. You know, and I think a lot with Bryce and his winter market is going to be determined by what happens in the next 2 months. Does he have a better finish than what we've seen the first 4 months with Washington? With the Dodgers, I think their focus would be entirely on winning that first World Series in 30 years, and then make your choices after that because, of course, they have Justin Turner, Corey Seager.
Yeah.
2-2 to Zobrist, who swung out and missed. Beyond the trade deadline, more good live Major League action on ESPN tomorrow with doubleheader action. The Phillies and Red Sox in the opener. Aaron Nola and David Price. The nightcap features the Brewers in Los Angeles to face the Dodgers. Back to the Phillies and Red Sox on Tuesday for Jake Arrieta and Drew Pomerantz. And then we'll be in Boston a week from tonight for the Yankees and Red Sox on Sunday Night Baseball. Thought Adam Jones was an interesting name on that list as well, as Jason Hayward digs in now with 2 gone. I felt like there was a slam dunk fit with Adam Jones and the Indians. That didn't happen. And in fact, there was a deal apparently that Adam said no to that would have sent him to the Phillies. Kind of furthering Buster's statement that it appears as though Adam Jones is going to play out the season there. Yeah.
Well, he just bought Cal Ripken's house about 30 minutes away from Camden Yards. So he loves it there. He's a very, very good player and a guy that has tremendous personality. So he'll be a fantastic fit in many clubs.
Ball on a strike to Jason Hayward. Cubs looking to pad their 3-run lead late. 0-1-2 rather, as Hayward is late on the fastball that time. I would imagine that's a pretty nice house, by the way. Cal's place.
That's Buster. I don't know if you went. That's where you had the basketball court And back in the day, we used to get some invitations to play some good basketball. He was one of the rare basketball players that in his contract with the Orioles was allowed to play basketball.
Nice grab.
Great play by Jedd Gyorko to
We'll be back
prevent
with the NBA Finals.
that insurance run from scoring.
Playing basketball at the Ripkins. You're a big deal.
Name dropper.
They'll have the meat of their order up against the guy who's getting the closer opportunity tonight. In the absence of Brandon Morrow, still on the disabled list, the Cubs have matched up to end ball games. And tonight, in a save situation, it'll be the veteran right-hander Pedro Strop.
A little fastball, slider, cutter. And I'll tell you what, and Joe Maddon talks about this, how underrated he's been to this bullpen. Now getting the opportunity, as you said, to get that closer position. Always been a bridge guy, leading to Brandon Morrow, who's on the DL. But now getting a chance to shine and show his stuff.
Starts Marcel Ozuna with a 96-mile-an-hour fastball at the knees. Ozuna tops it in the infield. Going to be a tough chance for Bodie. Makes a great play for the first out of the inning. David Bodie does not want to go back to AAA, folks. He's been up and down 5 times this year.
And Joe Maddon told us today in his office about how great his attitude was. And today he's showing us that it's more than attitude. He can play. Another fantastic play from Bodie. Great to see. In tonight's game, it's been the lack of defense of the St. Louis Cardinals and the great defense of the Chicago Cubs.
I love Addison Russell's almost expression too, because he's coming up on that ball. Bodie comes out of nowhere, grabs it right in front of him, and that's a base hit if it gets to Russell.
Nothing energizes a team more than great defense. And Anthony Rizzo, his smile says it all right there.
And a quick 0-2 count to Jedd Gyorko.
Man, it's fun to see great defense. I love it.
I got a chance to talk to David just before the game. You talk about a baseball rat and a big baseball fan. He grew up in Denver, fan of the Rockies, went to their games. He's into it.
Oh, and Buster's major league debut this year was in Colorado, so his whole family was there, which, I mean, that's the kind of stuff you can't write it better. And the fact that he's been a baseball rat, loves the opportunity he's been able to been given, but the fact that his debut, yes, up and down 5 times, but he got to be there at home in front of his family.
Red Hot Rockies are next up for the Cardinals. In fact, they're here in St. Louis as we speak, getting ready for their series, which begins tomorrow. Gyorko to left. Zobrist calling for it shy of the track for out number 2. Sports Center with Scott Van Pelt is coming up next on ESPN.
Alex, you get to stick around. You drew the short stick.
Don't promote that. People will turn off their TV. Hey, I'm excited to stick around a little bit. I have nowhere to go.
Baseball.
Ask SVP where he was on vacation.
I sure will.
We'll have a chance to do that sooner rather than later, as this one is iced down for the Chicago Cubs. Chicago avoids the sweep here at Busch with a 5-2 victory here in the series finale tonight. Kyle Hendricks gets it back on track. A long one for Kyle to improve his record to 7-9 as the Cubs are winners on the road this evening. For Alex Rodriguez, Jessica Mendoza, and Buster Olney, Matt Vasgersian saying so long from St. Louis, where the Cubs have defeated the Cardinals by a final score of 5-2. Next week, we're in Boston for the Red Sox and Yankees. Until then, so long. Thanks for watching. Sports Center is next with Scott Van Pelt.